B'shara tova. So now we continue. We are Perek Vav Pasuk Chet. So Shlomo HaMelech tells us, in order, just in a nutshell, to resume, in order not to lose focus on reality and not to detach yourself from Chokhmah, go and learn the behavior of the ant. Right? And the ant, we said, the ant, we learn from the ant Chokhmah, we learn from the ant Midot Tovot, and we also learn from the ant Ma'asim Tovim. And all this the ant has without any outside pressure or ruler or protocol. She does it from within. And that's part of what she does. Pasuk Chet, Tachin b'ka'itz lahma, right? It prepares during the summer, it stores during the summer her food. Agra b'katzir ma'achala, and she gathers its food during the time of harvest. Right? So she gathers the food during the katzir, and she prepares the storage of the food during the summer. Says the Gaon, we know that katzir is the period before the summer, is when you start cutting, harvesting, the wheat. So he says during the katzir, the Nemala is only focused on one thing: gathering food. She does nothing else but gathering. For what purpose? So that she can eat. It's only at the end of the summer, where there's no more grains to find. At the end of the summer, the Gemara in Nedarim calls it kaitz, right? That she's going to start preparing from what she has gathered the food that she's going to be eating. Breaking down the grains, making it eatable. That's why he says, Tachin b'ka'itz lahma, right? At the end of the summer, she prepares its bread, its food. Agra b'katzir ma'achala, right? But she gathers ma'achal. Ma'achal is what is the food that can be eaten. Lechem is the food that is ready to be eaten. The ma'achal is the produce.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry. She's
the lechem
preparing in the summer.
No, in the summer, she transforms the produce into lechem, into food. She breaks down the grains so that it's ready to be eaten. But during the harvest time, all she does is gathering the produce.
Why are we saying it backwards?
It's a very good question.
That's what's throwing me off.
Because the purpose is the lachma. The focus is on the purpose. So it is true that the seder is the other way around. But if we would have written it, if Shlomo HaMelech would have written it ala seder, you would not have know what is the ikar. You would have thought that it's just steps in the seder. So by switching the seder, it's coming to address that the ikar and what's important to the ant is the lahma, it's the food. And for that specific reason, the Gaon says, if you pay attention, all it gathers is ma'achala, right? And all her work, the achana is for the lechem, meaning that the ant doesn't waste time and doesn't get distracted by anything else but gathering produce that she's going to end up by eating. No effort is wasted on something that will not lead to lechem. So from your question, yeah, you led to what the Gaon addressed. It's a beautiful question. So another, so what do we learn from the lesson that we're learning from the Nemara? She's focused on producing results that are beneficial to her and nothing else. No distraction and no sidetrack. So the Gaon explains, he says, the katsir is the youth, the years of strength of a person. When a person is young and fresh, he needs to gather and gather and gather and gather. It's all about amassing and building a database, a bank. In this case, that we were talking about Talmidei Chachamim and Dayanim, he has to learn Torah. Learn as much as you can. And then comes the Kais, then comes the summer. So this is at the end of the life of a person. He takes everything that he learned, and he grinds it. He grinds it to make it like the ant, grinds the wheat, the grains, so that it can eat. So the Talmid Chacham takes everything that he's learned in his life and grinds it so that he makes sure that the Torah that he has is a Torah that's edible. That's something that he can be impacted from and grow from on one end, but also that stays within him. When you eat the food, you eat the man, you eat the pure food, the food stays in your body, but also the food is mekayem you, right? The food keeps you alive. The Malbim, it's incredible. I'm telling you, it's an amazing Kadosh Baruch Hu makes it. But the Malbim, yesterday, on the food that Avraham serves the Malachim, he gives the Agdara, he gives the definition of food. He says the definition of food is something that you internalize that gives you life and gives you that strengthens you. If you put something inside of you that does not give you life, that doesn't give you strength, it's not considered eating. It's not considered food. So the lechem in that case, right? The lechem, the food in that case, is the Torah. So you learn a lot of Torah, but as you get older, you make sure that Torah is a Torah that will give you life, that strengthens you, and that stays within you. Lucky is the one that comes to Olam Haba and he has his Talmud in his hand, he has his Torah in his hand. What does it mean? That it's within him. So as the process of transition from Olam Hazeh to Olam Haba, a person has to make sure that he always turns the learning Torah into something that's within him. That's part of it. That's his life. That's Kihem Hayenu. What gives life to an individual through his learning the Torah is that when he's tochen, when he takes the produce, he takes the grain and turns it into bread. And what's the bread? The bread is something that's ready to eat, that's warm, that's satisfying, that's good. And he says that when your sugya, when your Torah is ready in front of you, All you have to do is enjoy it, right? The knowledge is clear, the sugiot are clear, the understanding is clear, and it's ready for enjoyment. And he says this is what Chachamim mean when they say im en kemach and Torah, and im en Torah and kemach. He says even Torah, if when you're young and fresh and strong, you don't learn a lot of Torah and kemach, you're not going to be able to make flour. You're not going to have enough knowledge, enough information to really turn your chokhmah into bread. Ve'im en kemach, and he says, and if you've learned a lot, but you did not translate your learning into bread, imen kemach, as in Torah, your Torah was a waste. So in everything that you learn, make sure that you translate it into something that is clear, good, ready in your mind. And this is what Chazara does. Why Chazara is so important? Because when you learn and you do your Chazara, the Chazara helps you transform the grain into flour, and from flour into bread. That's what Chazara does. When you learn, it's produce. Yeah, you hear a shiur, we're learning together. It's a produce. You're amassing learning knowledge. It's knowledge. Say there, but then what happens to that? When you do your own Chazara, when you consolidate your thoughts, right? It's the binah that we're talking about, and the dat, right? When you make it into yours, you've taken that grains, that information, and transformed it into your own bread. And at this point, it's always Shulchan Aruch. It's in front of you, ready to enjoy and to benefit from at all time. He brings another example. He says that when you learn a lot, it's like someone that comes and cuts a big tree and then uses this tree to warm himself up, right? When you take a piece of wood of a big tree and you put it under the fire, it takes a very long time to burn. So you benefit from the heat for a long time. Yes, it's true. It was very hard to cut the big tree, but the benefit of it is also very, very long. But if you don't cut a big tree, then how do you warm up? You go and you cut the bamboos, that next to the river. But when you throw them in the fire, that burns right away. So you're going to warm yourself up, but you don't warm yourself up enough. You constantly have to go back and go back and go back. So he says, this is the Talmid Chacham that learns a lot of Torah and has amassed a lot of Chokhmat Torah. He has what to do with it. He can warm himself up with it. He has resources to enjoy again and again and again and again. And he doesn't have to go for new sources, for new information. But the person that didn't really learn, so okay, he knows here, he knows there, nothing's complete, nothing is mevusas, is meyusad, is founded. So he always has, if he wants to satisfy himself with chokhmah, he has to start again and again. It's a process that he's always in a hatchala mode. So says the Gaon, learn from the ant to be laser focused in your efforts to only invest in what yields a benefit to you. It says that Lemala doesn't care about nobody else. It cares only about itself. And that's where she finds the strength to surpass her needs. Like we said, she eats 1.5 grain of wheat in her entire life, but yet she can gather 300 kul. So the beracha in her effort comes from the fact that she is laser focused and only cares about herself. Now, this doesn't sound right? It sounds like she's very, but that's the Gaon says it, and it's Shitat Gaon. He says, "Ken tzarich ha'adam shelo yir'eh ela le'atzmo velo bishvil acherim." A person has to learn to be selfish and only think about himself. It brings a Gemara that says, Avotai ganzu la'acherim, my ancestors, they focused on others, ve'ani ganazti le'atzmi, but me, I only focused on myself. He says that's the difference between the Talmid Chacham. He says the Talmid Chacham is selfish, not only from others. He's selfish also related to his wife and his kids. He says somebody that wants to learn Torah, somebody that wants to grow in Torah, cannot have distractions at all, including the distraction of a wife and children. He says because it's impossible to learn Torah when you have deagot, when you're bothered by things, when you're distracted all the time. And he brings Chazal. It's a Gemara in Eruvin. And a Torah mitkayemet. The Torah does not stay. Ela b'mi shemesim atzmo achzari. Unless the person is achzar, is cruel, al bnei beto ke'orev, on his children, like a orev, the blackbird.
Crow.
The crow. The crow. The crow doesn't feed its babies. So he says the Torah. The Gemara says the Torah. So what does that mean? What does that mean?
Yeah, practical application, Rabbi. What is it?
What does that mean? That means that, yeah, I'm going to give you the Gaon, because the Gaon is across the board. Gibore Hayil, the Giborim, according to the Gaon in Even Shlomo, he says, are people that are learning Torah and do not lose 1 second, 1 minute of their time for anything that's not kiyumi. That's something that's not a reason of survival. If it's existential, if it's survival, then they have no choice. They stop and they get to it. The second the mission is done, they go back to their Torah. And he says that a person that lives such a level, HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes care of him 100%. Hashem is his Rofe, his doctor. Hashem is his mefarnes, he brings him parnasa. Hashem will be the mechanech of his children. Hashem will be the therapist of Shalom Bayit for him. When you have a level of emunah, in that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is everything for you, and you apply it you apply that emunah in your limud Torah, and in the way you manage your time, then as much as you prove it in your action and in your learning, That's how much HaKadosh Baruch Hu will be to you. The rest of what and fill in your needs. And he brings an example. He says a tinok, a baby that is born, does zero ishtadlut. And it's fed, it's dressed, it's cleaned, bathed, played with, entertained, loved. A baby misses nothing. Hashem makes sure that the baby gets everything. Why? Because he doesn't do no ishtadlut. The moment, says the Gaon, the person starts doing ishtadlut as the child grows and he wants to become independent, so he takes more of his efforts in his hands to do things that he wants, and that pushes away the hashgacha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it becomes now in the person's hand. Why do HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Ramban says, V'rapo yirapeh anoten reshut larofeh lerapot? Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought chokhmah, the chokhmah of medicine to the world, and now we're dependent on doctors to be cured? Hu harofeh, he's the rofeh cholim, rofeh chol basar itzim, because mishum ketane amana, because we don't believe. If we really believed in HaKadosh Baruch Hu at the right level, we wouldn't need any rofim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu would have been our rofeh, our doctor. But because Hashem knows that we're not at that level, so Hashem brought rofim. Hashem brought therapists. Hashem brought the teachers. So says the Gaon. Back to the Gaon, and that's the Yesod. That's we have to know that this is the Emet. This is the Emet. We're very, 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 very far from even remotely understanding what it means, proper emunah, and benefiting from the Hashgacha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu fully. We're not there. We're not there. So says the Gaon, if you want to be the Talmid Chacham that is protected, right, from mistakes, if you want to be the Dayan that is protected from the mistake, you need to develop a level of cruelty in you and selfishness in you that makes you laser focused in what you do. Just like the Nemala, just like the ant. The ant only cares about itself, but the outcome is tremendous. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not sensitive to the needs of our family. We're very sensitive. But we believe that if we are one with HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes care of everything. So when we leave, when we go out of the door to try to make things happen, it's a flaw in our emunah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will take care of it. And here comes the ishtadlut. Because we have a flaw in emunah, and it's okay, it's just the reality. I mean, it's not okay, but what can we do? This is where we are. Therefore, we have to do our ishtadlut. So where does the emunah comes from? The emunah comes knowing that if I did all the ishtadlut I need to do, based on how much emunah I don't have, then I know that Be'ezrat Hashem, if I completed that, then I reconnect to the emunah and I can have my emunah back to where I'm holding. You understand? Let's say you're missing 20%, okay, of emunah. So you have the obligation to do 20% ishtadlut. And if you know that you've done 20% ishtadlut, now you filled in the what's missing in your emunah, and now kicks the emunah that everything is going to happen. And if you have 50% lack of emunah, then you have to do 50%. You have to fill in the void of emunah with ishtadlut in order for the emunah to kick in again.
But you're also saying that for us to reach that level of emunah is super difficult.
Yes, yeah.
Potentially non-existent.
Correct. I don't know about not existent. But I'll give you for example, the Chafetz Chaim. He used to do ishtadlut once a year for his parnasa. He would buy a lottery ticket, knowing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu would take care of him. And whatever he won, that was his ishtadlut. That was his ishtadlut. Today, the Talmidei Chachamim that sit and learn all day, you have a lot of tzaddikim nistarim that they don't know how they're going to feed their kids. We know that. And malachim, like you guys, right? Take care of and he finds their way. He finds their way. How does it work? We don't know how it works. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doeg, and they know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doeg, and that doesn't make them less happier than us, or they're happier for sure. They're 100% happier. To the outside eye, it looks like terrible because we have a different madad, right?
Rabbi, the ant leaves the food we said for their kids, the next generation. The Talmid Chacham, if we want to be like him, he has to spend that time to give it over.
No. What do you mean? He keeps it for the next generation.
The ant, right?
Yes.
We said has all that extra food. They only eat it 1.5 stalks, and they collect 300.
Yes.
Tremendous amount.
Yes.
So that's a physical object that they leave for the next generation, for the kids, for whoever it is, right? A Talmid Chacham who's learning Torah and he's being selfish, laser focused, like we said, unless he's going to go out there and teach his children and teach his Talmidim.
But for sure. In Achinami, we're talking about now. Who are we talking about right now? We're talking about Talmid Chacham Shem Elamed Torah and the Dayan that is posek. We're not talking about somebody that sits and learns and doesn't teach. For sure. Just going back to Brian's question in the Seder, the Gaon gives another reason for an added reason. So first, it says Tachin, and then Agra, right? Prepare the food and then gather. It should be the other way around. That's the question of Brian. I mean, you have to scream that question. So the Gaon says something nifla. He says this is referring to Torah shebe'al peh and Torah shebichtav. He's like, Agra, what do you gather? You gather Torah shebichtav. But then what do you prepare? How do you prepare the food with Torah shebe'al peh? That's how you break it down, right? That's how you grind it. That's Torah shebe'al peh. So he says, you don't think that you have to need only Torah shebichtav and then Torah shebe'al peh. Your Torah shebichtav has to come hand in hand with the Torah shebe'al peh. So he says, Tachin, even though you have your Torah shebichtav, but right away you should have Torah shebe'al peh. That's the ikar. The ikar is the Tachin, is the ability to prepare it. So every time you learn, you have Torah shebichtav, make sure you have with it Torah shebe'al peh.
Still backwards though. Why is the Torah shebe'al peh?
No, because Tachin is Torah shebe'al peh. So if you don't have the Torah Shebe'al Peh, you'll never have the Torah Shebichtav. And he brings the mashal in the Gemara in Masechet Shabbat of this guy who went to Bet Shammai, Daf Lamed Aleph, and he told Bet Shammai, how many Torah do you have? He says, we have two Torah, Torah Shebichtav, and we have Torah Shebe'al Peh. Il a dit, okay, Torah Shebichtav, I'm willing to accept. Torah Shebe'al Peh, I don't want. I don't believe it. Shammai threw it out of the window, threw the guy out of the window. He went to Hillel. Hillel converted him right away. So when he converted, the next day he went to learn. So he taught him Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet. The next day, he teaches him Tit, Tav, Shin, Resh, Kuf. So the guy told him, I don't understand. Yesterday you taught me Aleph, Bet, Gimel. Now you're teaching me Tav, Shin, Resh, Kuf. Hillel told him, when I converted you, you trusted me that I was going to teach you the Torah, right? He said, yes. He said, so based on what did you convert? Based on the trust in me. He said, yes. He said, so trust me when I tell you that you need to learn Torah Shebe'al Peh. And that's how he opened the man's mind to realize that how important the Torah Shebe'al Peh is. Maybe we'll stop here, because then it has we have another two psukim. No, 3 psukim, and then it's a different. Now Shlomo HaMelech is basically going back to the Atzel, going back to the person. After he taught us everything about what he wanted to teach us about the ant, and then hammers the heaviness in men. So we finished pasuk chet lemase.
Wow, amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Baruch Hashem.
Love it.